Have you ever stopped yourself from speaking up, from wearing what you actually like, or from being who you really are just because you were afraid of what someone might think? Most people don't realize this, but your fear of judgment is silently controlling your life right now. It decides what you say, what you post online, what dreams you chase, and what you give up on before you even try. Here's the truth that no one ever tells you. Most people are not judging you nearly as much as you think they are. And the few who actually are judging you, they're usually just projecting their own insecurities onto you. In this video, we're going to break down the psychology behind why you care so much about others' opinions, how your brain learned this habit over time, and most importantly, how to free yourself from it without becoming cold, careless, or disconnected from the people around you. If you've ever felt trapped by other people's opinions, this video is for you. The invisible prison. Most people don't realize this, but the fear of what others think is one of the most powerful prisons the human mind can ever live in. It doesn't have bars. It doesn't lock doors. Yet it silently controls how you speak, how you dress, what you share online, what dreams you pursue, and what opportunities you abandon before you even give them a try. You tell yourself you're just being realistic, that you're simply being careful, that you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of others. But underneath all those seemingly rational thoughts lies a deeper, more primal fear, the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected, the fear of being seen as not good enough. This fear didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was learned slowly, quietly, carefully over many years of your life. You learned it when approval felt like safety, when criticism felt like real danger, when fitting in with the group literally meant survival. So your brain adapted to protect you. It learned to constantly scan faces, interpret tones, analyze reactions. It learned to ask, how do I look to them? Before it ever asked, what do I actually want? And now, without even realizing it, you're living your entire life for an audience that isn't even watching you as closely as you think they are. In this series, we're going to dismantle this prison piece by piece. Not by becoming careless or cold or indifferent to everyone around you, but by becoming psychologically free. In the next part, we'll uncover exactly why your brain is wired to care so deeply about judgment, and why that ancient wiring no longer serves you in the modern world. Why your brain is obsessed with approval. Your brain cares about what people think for one very simple reason. It was originally designed to keep you alive. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by your group meant genuine danger. No tribe meant no protection. No protection meant death. So your nervous system learned something very early in human evolution. Belonging equals safety. That ancient wiring still exists inside you today, even though your life no longer depends on fitting in with the tribe. Your brain doesn't know the difference between social rejection and actual physical danger. It reacts to both of them in exactly the same way. That's why a single negative comment can keep you awake all night. Why embarrassment feels physically painful in your body. Why even the idea of being judged makes your chest tighten and your heart race. Your mind isn't weak, it's simply outdated. But here's where the real problem begins. Modern life has turned this survival mechanism completely against you. Social media, workplace culture, and constant comparison have amplified your fear of judgment far beyond what would ever be natural or healthy. Now you're not just worried about being rejected by the group. You're worried about being misunderstood, being disliked, being ignored, or simply not being impressive enough. So you start to adjust yourself. You filter your thoughts carefully. You shrink your truth down to something more acceptable. And over time, you begin confusing approval with actual self-worth. In the next part, we'll explore how this constant need for validation slowly disconnects you from who you really are, and why that disconnection is the real cost of caring too much about what others think. When approval replaces identity, when you care too much about what people think, something subtle but devastating begins to happen inside you. You slowly stop asking yourself the important questions. What do I actually believe? What do I truly want? What feels right to me deep down? Instead, your mind automatically asks a completely different question first. How will this be received by others? Over time, approval becomes your compass. And when approval becomes the guide you follow, your true identity gets lost along the way. You start shaping yourself to fit other people's expectations. You soften your opinions to avoid conflict. You hide certain parts of your personality. You choose what feels acceptable to others instead of what feels true to you. At first, this strategy feels safe and smart. You experience fewer conflicts, more nods of agreement, less friction in your relationships. But inside, something essential begins to erode. The more you perform for acceptance, the more distant and disconnected you feel from yourself. You may look confident and put together on the outside, yet feel completely hollow on the inside, because you're living a version of yourself that's constantly being edited for other people. And here's the painful truth that most people never realize. No amount of external approval can ever replace genuine self-connection. When your sense of worth depends entirely on others, you become incredibly fragile. Because opinions change constantly, moods shift unpredictably, and people move on without warning. The real cost of caring what people think isn't rejection from others. It's the abandonment of yourself. The next shift happens when you start to notice how this pattern quietly trains your mind to fear being seen exactly as you truly are, and why that fear feels so overwhelmingly powerful. The fear of being seen at the very core of caring what people think is not actually the fear of being judged. It's the fear of being fully, completely seen. Being seen means being exposed. And exposure feels genuinely dangerous when you've learned over time that love, respect, or belonging can be suddenly withdrawn. So you don't just fear criticism from others. You fear your own authenticity. You fear that if people saw your real thoughts, your real emotions, your real flaws and imperfections, something vital would be lost. Approval, connection, safety. This fear often comes from earlier experiences in your life. Moments when being yourself led to embarrassment, punishment, or rejection. Your nervous system remembers those moments vividly, even when your conscious mind doesn't. So now you self-monitor constantly. You rehearse conversations in your head before they happen. You replay interactions over and over. You analyze other people's reactions, searching for hidden meaning in every word and gesture. Not because you're fundamentally insecure, but because you're trying desperately to protect yourself from pain. But that protection has slowly turned into a cage. The truth is, being unseen is just as painful as being rejected. When you hide for long enough, you don't just feel misunderstood by others. You feel completely invisible, and that invisibility slowly drains your sense of being truly alive. The next realization comes when you understand exactly how much energy this constant self-monitoring consumes, and how it quietly exhausts your mind and body every single day. The cost of constant self-surveillance when you care too much about what people think. Your mind is never truly at rest. It is always constantly watching itself. You don't just experience life as it happens. You evaluate everything in real time. How did that sound to them? Did I say too much? Do they actually like me? This isn't healthy self-awareness. This is exhausting self-surveillance. Psychologically, this keeps your brain stuck in a mild but constant stress response. Your attention is split between the moment itself and the imagined audience that you believe is observing and judging you. That split attention is absolutely exhausting. Over time, it leads to mental fatigue, emotional numbness, and complete decision paralysis. You hesitate before speaking up. You delay taking action. You choose what feels safest to others, not what feels true to yourself. Ironically, the more effort you put into managing how others perceive you, the less present and confident you actually appear. People don't connect with someone who is busy managing an image. They connect with someone who is grounded and real. And here's the hard truth you need to hear. Most people are not judging you nearly as much as you think they are. They're far too busy managing their own inner commentary and worries. Your anxiety about judgment is not proof that danger is real. It's simply proof that you're over-identified with imagined opinions that may not even exist. The moment you stop performing for a mental audience, your nervous system finally begins to settle down. And when it settles, clarity naturally returns. Next, we'll confront a belief that quietly fuels this entire cycle. The idea that other people's opinions somehow carry real authority over your fundamental worth as a person. Why opinions feel like verdicts at some point in your life. Opinions stopped feeling neutral. They began to feel final and absolute. A raised eyebrow, a delayed text reply, a short, dismissive comment. Your mind treats these tiny signals as harsh judgments. And those judgments feel like permanent verdicts about who you are as a person. This happens because your brain is still wired to protect belonging at all costs. For most of human history, social rejection meant genuine, life-threatening danger. So your nervous system still reacts today as if approval equals safety, and disapproval equals a real threat to your survival. But here's what changes absolutely everything. An opinion is not a fact. It's simply a snapshot of someone else's current mood, their personal history, their values, and yes, even their own insecurities, all captured in a single fleeting moment. When you internalize other people's opinions, you give them an authority they were never meant to have. You let them override your own lived experience and your own inner knowing. This is exactly why one careless, thoughtless comment can completely outweigh 10 sincere, heartfelt compliments. The mind naturally scans for threat, not for truth. People are not objective judges of your worth. They are subjective narrators of their own reality, projecting their own lens onto you. Once you truly understand this at a deep level, opinions finally lose their crushing weight. They become simply information, not instructions for how you should live. And when opinions stop acting like verdicts, your sense of self stops being so easily shaken by every passing judgment. Coming up next, we'll explore how approval seeking quietly shapes and distorts your identity over time, and how to begin reclaiming the parts of yourself that were carefully edited out just to stay acceptable to others. How you learned to edit yourself long before you cared what everyone thought. You first learned to care what someone specific thought. Maybe it was a parent whose love felt conditional on your behavior, a teacher who consistently praised obedience over genuine curiosity, a friend group that rewarded fitting in and harshly punished anyone who stood out. Slowly, gradually, you learned a quiet but powerful skill, self-editing. You noticed which parts of you were welcomed and celebrated and which parts caused tension or disapproval. So you adjusted accordingly. You softened your voice. You hid certain opinions. You learned exactly when to laugh, when to stay quiet, when to make yourself smaller and disappear. None of this was a personal failure on your part. It was simply survival. But over time, self-editing inevitably becomes self-erasure. You stop asking yourself, what do I actually think about this? And you start asking, what will keep me accepted and safe? This is exactly how people lose touch with their own instincts. Not because they somehow lack confidence, but because they've been trained over many years to deeply distrust themselves. Approval seeking doesn't just chase validation from others. It fundamentally reshapes your identity. And here's the most painful part. You can become highly liked by many people while feeling deeply unknown, even by yourself. The good news is this: anything that was learned for survival can absolutely be unlearned for freedom. Next, we'll look closely at the invisible cost of being easy to like, and why reclaiming your full, authentic self may feel deeply uncomfortable at first, but is absolutely necessary for your well-being. The hidden cost of being easy to like feels safe and comfortable. You avoid conflict. You keep things light and pleasant. You rarely rock the boat or cause waves. On the surface, life seems to run much smoother this way. People describe you as nice, chill, or low maintenance. But underneath that comfortable exterior, a quiet cost begins to steadily accumulate. You start carrying everyone else's emotional weight on your shoulders. You say yes when your body desperately wants to say no. You apologize constantly, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. And slowly, resentment begins to take root, not toward others but toward yourself. Because every single time you betray your own truth just to keep the peace, you teach your nervous system a devastating lesson. That harmony with others matters more than honesty with yourself. Over time, this creates a kind of exhaustion that rest alone can never fix. Burnout without overwork, emptiness without any obvious loss. What you're really tired of is constantly abandoning yourself. Here's the hard truth that most people never say out loud. Being liked is not the same thing as being respected. And being respected is not the same thing as being truly known. When you stop expressing your real thoughts and feelings, people don't exactly reject you. They simply never get to meet the real you. Breaking this pattern doesn't mean becoming rude, harsh, or careless toward others. It means valuing your inner alignment more than you value external approval. In the next part, we'll explore why disappointment from others is absolutely unavoidable when you stop people-pleasing, and why learning to tolerate that disappointment is a major turning point in your journey. Learning to tolerate disappointment, one of the biggest reasons we care so deeply about what people think, is not actually the fear of rejection. It's the fear of disappointing others. Disappointment feels intensely personal. It looks like silence, a changed tone of voice, or a subtle withdrawal of warmth. And for many people, that feeling triggers guilt almost instantly and automatically. So you immediately adjust. You explain too much. You soften your boundaries. You take responsibility for emotions that were never yours to manage in the first place. But here's what rarely gets said out loud. Disappointment is not a failure. It's simply a natural byproduct of being honest. Anytime you choose yourself over others' expectations, someone else may feel uncomfortable. That does not mean you did something wrong. The goal is not to avoid disappointing people at all costs. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself in order to prevent their discomfort. Learning to tolerate disappointment is a genuine skill that must be practiced. At first, your body will react as if you're in real danger. Your heart may race. Your mind will frantically search for ways to fix the moment and restore harmony. This is precisely where real growth happens, when you pause instead of immediately rescuing, when you breathe deeply instead of over-explaining, when you allow others to feel what they feel without trying to control or manage their emotions. Discomfort always passes. Respect often follows. In the next part, we'll uncover how emotional over-explaining keeps you trapped in endless approval seeking, and how strategic silence can become one of your strongest and most powerful tools. The power of silence. Most of us have been taught that constantly speaking up proves our worth. We justify our choices, we explain our reasoning, and then we justify again. Always hoping to be fully understood, always hoping to be accepted. But here's a powerful secret. Silence is often more powerful than words when it's used intentionally. When you stop over-explaining everything, something truly remarkable happens. People stop expecting you to constantly validate their assumptions. They stop projecting their own judgments onto you so easily. Silence creates space. A space where you can reconnect with your own values, your own truth, and your own boundaries. It teaches your mind a crucial lesson, that your voice doesn't need constant approval to matter. The discomfort you feel when you first choose silence, it's your inner critic learning something new, that you are not defined by others' opinions. At first, silence may feel risky and vulnerable. You might fear judgment or feel isolated. That's completely normal. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first. Over time, silence becomes a kind of shield, a way to protect your precious energy from unnecessary validation seeking. It allows your actions, not your endless explanations, to define your character. It frees you from the exhausting loop of over-justification. When used wisely, silence doesn't create distance from others. It creates clarity, power, and genuine self-respect. Next, we'll explore why the fear of being judged is often just a reflection of your own self-doubt, and how to dismantle that fear from within. The mirror of self-doubt. Have you ever noticed how much time you spend imagining what others think about you? You rehearse conversations that haven't happened yet. You anticipate criticism before it arrives. You assume judgment, sometimes from people who haven't even noticed you exist. This endless mental loop isn't really about them. It's about you. It's a reflection of self-doubt masquerading as concern for others' opinions. When you care too much about what others think, you give away your power. You let external judgments shape your feelings, dictate your decisions, and even determine your sense of worth. The truth is this: no one else's view can define you unless you consciously allow it to. Think of it like looking into a mirror. If you look into a cracked, distorted mirror, you'll see a warped reflection staring back at you. That's exactly what other people's opinions are. A reflection of their own biases, their fears, their limitations, all projected onto you. Believing that reflection tells you nothing about your reality. It only reinforces your own self-doubt. The first step to freedom is recognizing this pattern. Start to notice when your mind shifts focus from your own truth to imagined judgments. Awareness is the key that dissolves the illusion that others' opinions have any real power over you. Once you see that fear for what it truly is, you can begin to act from confidence, not from imagined expectation. From here, your journey to genuine self-trust takes a decisive turn. Breaking free from social chains. Most people don't realize how many invisible chains govern their daily lives. These chains are made of judgments, expectations, and the constant fear of criticism. You wake up thinking about what others will say, and you go to bed the same way, exhausted, anxious, and trapped. The painful truth: these chains only exist because you keep feeding them. Every time you adjust your behavior just to please someone, you tighten the links. Every time you silence your thoughts, your desires, or your emotions to avoid disapproval, you give those chains more strength. Breaking free doesn't require dramatic confrontation or rebellion. It requires awareness and deliberate action. Start small. Express a minor opinion without filtering it for approval. Make a small choice for yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable. Each small act chips away at the invisible chains. Imagine your life as a garden. Every time you act from fear of judgment, weeds grow wild. Every time you act from authenticity, the garden flourishes. Over time, the garden of your life becomes a place you genuinely love, rather than a confusing maze designed only for others' expectations. Remember this: freedom isn't found in the complete absence of people's opinions. It's found in consciously choosing which opinions truly matter to you and letting all the rest simply dissolve away. This is where your true independence begins. The cost of people-pleasing. Have you ever paused to notice the real price you pay for trying to please everyone around you? It's so much more than just exhaustion or stress. It's the slow, steady erosion of your identity. When every action, every word, every choice is filtered through the lens of what others think, you start to forget who you truly are underneath it all. People-pleasing may give you temporary approval or comfort, but it comes with a hidden tax that you pay every single day. You lose your time, your energy, your focus. You sacrifice opportunities, passions, and dreams. And worst of all, you silence your own voice, the one that knows your deepest truth. Think about a tree bending with every gust of wind. Eventually, it snaps. You become that tree when you constantly bend to the pressures of others' expectations. Your roots, the beliefs, values, and desires that make you uniquely you, they get crushed under the weight. Breaking free requires real courage, but the principle is actually simple. Your worth does not depend on constant validation from others. Every time you make a choice aligned with your values rather than others' expectations, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every time you speak your truth, you reinforce the core of your identity. It may feel lonely at first, but this is the cost of freedom. And it is worth every single moment. Your life, your path, and your peace demand it. Breaking the habit of seeking approval you've spent years, maybe even decades, chasing approval. It's become so automatic that you barely even notice it anymore. Yet it controls your decisions, your moods, and even your fundamental sense of self-worth. The first step to breaking free is awareness. Start to notice when your thoughts or actions are driven by "what will they think?" rather than "what feels right to me." Even small habits matter. Checking your phone constantly for reactions, editing your words to avoid judgment, over-explaining yourself. These are all signs of the invisible chain. Next comes confrontation. Ask yourself honestly, why does this approval matter so much to me? Often it's rooted in childhood patterns, past rejections, or fear of conflict. These are not your fault. They're just influences that shaped you over time. Understanding them gives you the power to choose differently now. Then comes action. Start small, but start today. Express a genuine opinion. Decline a favor you don't want to do. Wear what makes you feel confident, not what conforms to others. Each act, however tiny it seems, chips away at the habit. It teaches your mind something crucial, that you can survive and even thrive without everyone's stamp of approval. Breaking this habit doesn't happen overnight, but with each conscious choice, you reclaim ownership of your life. The more you practice, the stronger your freedom becomes. Your life no longer revolves around the gaze of others. Embracing your own values, true freedom from caring what others think, begins with clarity about your own values. When you know what truly matters to you, what principles, goals, and beliefs actually define your life, outside opinions lose their power over you. Start by writing down your core values. Ask yourself these questions. What kind of person do I want to be? What do I stand for, even if no one notices or acknowledges it? These are not aspirations to impress anyone. They are the foundation of your inner compass. Once your values are clear, test them in daily life. Speak up for what you believe. Make decisions aligned with these values even when someone disagrees. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is growth in action. Every time you act in alignment with yourself, you build genuine confidence and reduce the need for external validation. Remember this: people will always have opinions. But when your choices stem from your own values, their judgments become completely irrelevant. You stop bending to expectations and start living authentically. The freedom of self-consistency, freedom from the weight of others' opinions, is a practice, not a destination. It is a daily choice to honor your truth, your values, and your instincts. Reinforce your inner voice by doing these things. Journal your feelings without filtering them. Celebrate decisions you made for yourself, not for approval. Set clear boundaries with people who impose judgment on you. Notice how life feels lighter as you stop constantly adjusting to everyone else's expectations. Your energy shifts naturally from fear and doubt to presence and clarity. The journey is gradual. Some days you will care less about opinions, other days you'll care more, but each step counts. Your mind slowly learns something profound. You are enough just as you are. Living unchallenged now, picture a life where opinions don't dictate your happiness. Where your choices, your style, your words, and your goals are yours and yours alone. Where silence, rejection, or disagreement no longer break you. This is not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's not isolation, it's presence and alignment. Every moment you act authentically strengthens your self-trust. Every decision made for you, not for them, reinforces your independence. And every time you resist bending to judgment, you reclaim the joy of living unfettered, unafraid, unapologetic. You will notice subtle changes. Conversations become easier and more genuine. Confidence grows naturally from within. Life feels lighter, more intentional. Caring less about others' opinions is not about shutting people out. It's about opening yourself fully to life without the crushing weight of unnecessary opinions. And that is the power you've been seeking all along.